Welcome to FEM Poem, a radio show dedicated to literature, art, politics, and activism.
Hello and welcome to FEM Poem. In today's episode, I'm in the studio with Elisa Berger. I'm very happy that you're my guest. May you introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me at the podcast. My name is Elisa Berger. I am a filmmaker and artist, originally from Germany, but before that also from Ukraine, and I was born in Russia. And I'm currently based in Paris, half in Essen in Germany. And yes, I'm an artist who's working in the media, film, video art, performance, installation. I'm also a DJ, and currently I finished a film about Butoh dance called Invisible People. Usually I work on the topics of the body and the topics of exile and migration because of my own diverse migrational background of my family and myself, and also because I have a strong interest in performance and dance. Most of my projects kind of deal with the body.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much. It's very, very interesting. Would you like to tell the audience what your film is about?
Yes, so Invisible People is a film that I started shooting actually in 2018 when I first went to Japan. So after my first studies in Germany of media arts, I had a scholarship to go to Japan to research on Butoh dance because I was very interested in Butoh dance, because I wanted to work with it in a fictional horror movie that I was writing at that time. And then I stayed in Japan for over 4 years. I studied Butoh myself, and I turned all of this into a movie. So Invisible People is this film that I finished after around 5 years of shooting and editing and like searching for its form, which is about the Butoh dance scene in Tokyo, the Butoh dance scene that I encountered, which is just a fracture of probably like Butoh dancer community, both in Japan and outside of Japan. And also, it's about my personal journey. It's about certain characters that I encountered there, and it's a sort of an essay on a feeling and a notion of visibility and invisibility that I encountered um, through yeah, experiencing this art form or dance form.
Yeah, right. Wow. So that's a very long journey, and the film was published or premiered last year. So it's been like a process of at least 6, 7 years, right? Yeah,
Yes,
wow.
yes, yes. Last year in it premiered at CPH Docs, Copenhagen Docs Film Festival, and after that it was in Hot Dogs in Canada, at Sicilia Queer Film Festival in Sicily. It was also in Amsterdam at the Eiffel Museum, at the Cine Dance Film Festival, and now finally we are releasing it because it's a French and German co-production, and now we are releasing it in Germany in the cinemas. And yes, doing several sneak preview premieres at museums, institutions, and cinemas, and then with Q&As with me, and sometimes also with Butoh dance performances with either dancers who participated in the film, like
Mm.
Valentin. We had a performance with him in the cinema
Ah, yeah.
the day before yesterday in Berlin, which was quite
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes also we will have like panel talks with with local Butoh dancers, like in Munich with Stefan Maab. Yes.
Wow. I participated at a very beautiful Butoh workshop of Stefan Maab in Munich 2014, where there was the whole Yoshito Ohno family. So Yoshito
Yeah.
Ohno arrived with his wife, with his children, grandchildren. I was hanging out with his grandchildren a lot, with his
Amazing.
yeah, and so it was such an amazing experience, and I performed with him in Munich in the theater there. We performed being a bamboo, and the bamboo is just like simultaneously growing deep into the darkness and also into the light. And that was the theme of this performance, and it was just so amazing. So the title of the film is Invisible People. And in the film, you described invisible people in one hand as outsiders, then also the dead, or like the ancestors or people who died, or even like Butoh dancers themselves in a way of like outsiders of Japanese society. Could you expand on this like notion of invisibility?
Yes, of course. I think basically we go back to why I started this film, if you ask me about the invisibility, because
Yeah.
when I started, when I went to Japan, it was just a research. I started dancing myself, and especially at that time, also like my father passed away, so I kind of felt like I wanted to leave the camera and be more with my own body and like immerse myself into Butoh dance.
After which time that you've been there, this
That
happened?
was no, that was before. That was
Ah,
exactly at the
before.
time when I went there.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was like this very interesting, like very dark and very new time, and like to be in also the city like Tokyo in winter after
Wow, yeah.
experiencing something like that is was very unique. And it was also great because I could go to the Kazono dance studio, and it was just a very welcoming, very warm atmosphere.
In
And
Yokohama?
in
Yeah.
Yokohama, yes, exactly. And I remember in this time, and also before that, I used to do a few Bobuto workshop also before with Tiziana Longo and Motoya Kondo. They were called
Mm.
Motimaru, and
Ah,
also with
nice.
Atsushi Takenushi. And in all
Mm.
these experiences, I remember that whenever we would do performances after the workshops, the teachers would say, it's not only the performer performing, it's also the audience. Like the concentration of the audience has to be as strong as the concentration of the performer. And I was very amazed what happens if this connection is happening, between the viewer and the performer. And I more and more starting to understand that this is exactly what I'm interested in Butoh in general, and where I see also a similarity to film because of something visible, invisible, emerging in the moment of a very strong performance and the
Right.
space being transformed. And then this became sort of my research objective, like, can that be captured also on video? So is this only happening in live performance forms? Is this happening only inside my head between me and the dancer while I'm watching him? Or can this be captured on camera without an audience? And I started doing these video portraits of the dancers without a clear idea for a film. And when you ask me, like, what is your notion of invisible people? The very first notion was really like, are there invisible people emerging while somebody is dancing? And can we see them on camera? I mean,
Mm.
almost something as ghosty as that. And then, of course, after looking at material, after participating in different gatherings, filming in different gatherings, I mean, I myself also come from writing. Also for my films, I always write and I use voiceovers, even if sometimes I delete them later, but the writing process is quite strong. And then this first text about invisibility started just like coming from watching the material, from thinking about it. And then it just was gliding into different notions of invisible people. Also, as you said, the Japanese society is for me also like a society of a lot of invisibility, right? Because there are so many rules of conduct and facades, and you have to be able to read the visible, the invisible sometimes. So this was also one part of invisibility that I was dwelling on at that time. Of course, also the fact that the dancers are not that visible in the Japanese society, and the art that they are perceiving is so underground also, especially for those who are not that known, like Yoshito Ohno or Komo Robushi, right? So, yeah, just to, I will stop at that point, otherwise I just go on forever.
No,
Yeah.
it's just so interesting, and I also heard that a lot when I was in Japan, that also like deciding to be a Butoh dancer was also seen as kind of like losing your family or social respect. And I think that a lot of Butoh dancers were either like seen as something even a bit like delinquent, maybe because of all these erotic cabarets, and like this maybe also not getting so much money from it. So to be a Butoh dancer, I heard from a lot of people, was also really a sacrifice in some sense of like really becoming an outsider there.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, this is exactly what we're all so kind of aroused and tempted by. So like this underground, also not only the Butoh dancers, but also like most of the musicians whose music you have in this film, they are all also sort of invisible people. It's like sound artists, noise artists, underground. And I was also very in exchange with these kind of people, these also directors like Shozin Fukui. Do you know him maybe? It's like this, how do you call it? Cyberpunk legend filmmaker who made the film Pinocchio, who I suddenly encountered during a performance, who was doing like the visuals for the performance where I was dancing, where another sound artist was doing noise. And I was like, wow, like this is a legend, but he's just in this underground. And then he's owning this bar in Nakano and all of this kind of invisible layer to this Japanese society, which is very like stereotype, especially for us foreigners, also with certain like aesthetics. And so that was very interesting for me and very tempting. And I think that's very tempting, not only for me, it's also tempting for society, this underground where things happen, but at the same time that is sort of looked down because it sacrifices itself for something unknown.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. It's also this step into the unknown, which is also so fascinating, I think. Like in this role, but also in Butoh or this dance itself. This noise scene is very big in, especially in Tokyo, right? Or in Japan in general. But it's also super fascinating that you had this very vivid encounter with all of these artists, and that you collaborated with this underground scene, and it's very vivid and alive. And it reminds me a lot on the time of Hichikata himself, when he collaborated with so many other like filmmakers and writers, and it was all so experimental. And there's this term in, I think, one of his first like films, or that somebody made of him, this experimental films, was called, or was from a series which was called Experience. So this mixture between experience and experiment. So
Hmm.
experience and experiment. So this feels also very alive when you tell me about this journey that you really lived through all of that. And the film is maybe then just like documenting your vivid artistic collaborations and encounters there.
Thank you. But it's not like completely like that, but it's
Of
like you're
course, yeah.
romanticizing it. But I was also, I mean, when you're there, you're romanticizing it also a lot. Like it feels very close. Also, like I don't know, maybe you know Golden Guy, this
Yeah.
famous area in Shinjuku where like the artists used to hang out, and you go into a bar and you know like Shuji Terayama used to hang out here or
And Chris
in another,
McKay, okay.
yeah, in Chris Marker, or like also Yuri Norstein is coming sometimes once he's coming, or another bar where there is like a real Araki or Daido Moriyama like hanging on the ceiling, and you're like, what? Yeah, like he hanged it himself back in the 80s. But the truth is, I'm also very fascinated by Hijikata and like also his writings and
Yeah.
what he used to say, and I would always delve back to the past and my editors. Like I used to work for this film with different editors at different moments. They used to like bring me back. They were like, no, no, come back to now. Let's talk
Yeah.
about these underground dancers now, how they are doing it right now, and how they are maybe not writing history right now, but it's so beautiful that they are, even though they're dedicating their life to it, even they're not Hijikata right now, you know.
Of
So
course.
I
Yeah.
kind of really like that approach about it, that we see all these dancers who just continue dancing. It doesn't matter who's seeing it, who's
Right.
supporting it, or not, but they just like they continue, they're pushing it into the unknown.
Yes. And it's also a fact that Hichikata was like super famous back then because he was also in these horror movies and he was at the expo, Osaka Expo, and seen by millions of people. So he really was not that underground as it seemed, but he was also
Yeah.
kind of like a central figure of this Japanese avant-garde at
Yeah.
all these collaborations with these very, very famous writers. And that's a very different position in life, even though he was, of course, also underground, but also very visible in that time, I think. Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's also very interesting that you also, yeah, wrote so much during that time because I feel that also writing is also this, for me, this process of transformation and the same as a dancer that you're like constantly in movement and always like become other, become different. And this movement is for me very similar in a way, or it goes hand in hand, the writing and the body itself. And with which dancers did you collaborate there? Who do we see in this film?
So we see in this film Yoshito Ohno himself, because I was also going regularly to his workshop. We see Seisaku and Yuri Nagaoka. Seisaku used to be one of the youngest members of Asbesto Hall. Who else do we see? Tenku Ima, who used to be a member of Byakosha from Kyoto. We see also Mutsumi Neiro, or maybe right now they call themselves just Neiro and Mutsumi. They are a couple who's last generation of Yoshito Ono students. And Seiji Tanaka, who's also from the same generation, a Nara-based Butoh dancer. We see Taketero Kudo, so very successful Butoh dancer lately, very amazing dance from Tokyo. Valentin Zinn from Berlin, then Yu Sonoda was more also with the underground sound artists. We have also Norihito Ishii, who is a member of this super famous Sankaijuku. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we have also Kana Kitty or Kitty Kana. She's like doing her very own, a bit crazy. I think it's also called Butoh Pops, something like very contemporary, provocative, very sexy Butoh dance, and also like very pushing it in the scene. I mean, I shot much more dancers. I also shot
Mm.
Mushimaru Fujieda, who's based in Yakushima and is also quite traveling quite a lot with his performances and dances. Aya and Ushikan Suke, who's like a local Butoh dancer in Tokyo and a bar owner. And then Momoko Mei, who I really love. I think she's one of my most favorite dancers, but it's almost impossible to invite her somewhere to perform. She's very kind of living in her own underground life somewhere in Saitama, maybe taking care of her mother. Yeah, but I think that's it. Yeah, Momoko
Yeah.
Mei from Saitama, who's an amazing dancer. I also did a short film before with her participation. I mean, I would be horrible if I forget someone, right?
And this lady with whom you were walking,
Ah,
and
yeah, of course. So there's also these two. Naoko, well, I mean, I don't know what's the real name of Naoko, she's very secretive about her personality. So I thought it's Naoko Ume. And then on the contract, she asked like to be written Naoko Patricia. Oh no, on the contract, on the agreement, it was Naoko Ume. And then it was Naoko Patricia in the credits. And somebody came to the screening in Essen in the Museum Volkwang and said, "I'm a friend of Naoko," and then said another name. And he was like, "She told me to come, but she also told me not to give you her contact because she really
Mm.
wants to stay in the underground." But yeah, basically, I wanted to have some visuals for this story of the show dance for this chapter of show dance in the history of Butoh. And I made an appointment for shooting with Aida, who is actually she's a fire dancer and a show dancer. And she then said to me, "Yeah, of course. So I will come because I didn't know anybody who used to work in this period, who used to work at Shogun, and I she was a friend of a friend, and then she said, "Okay, I'm happy to do that dance for you for your movie to have these visuals, and I will bring a Butoh dancer if you like. I have a Butoh dancer friend who I will bring to the shooting spontaneously. What do you think about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." If you want to bring this Butoh dancer who's also into dancing cabaret burlesque, that's great. Let's do both. And then it turned out that Naoko was actually working at Shogun and these other two clubs that she mentions in the interview. And it was quite amazing because it was like a magical moment, that the dancer that I was searching for to speak to came to the shooting without me finding her.
Wow. Wasn't she also a student of Hichikata directly?
I think she was not really a
Ah,
student of anybody. She was
okay.
really punk.
Okay,
She used to also be part of this one. There used to be a female group that whose name I forgot, but maybe you heard about Yumiko Yoshioka, who's
yes.
also very big, especially in Berlin and in Spain. And she used to be part of this female-only group. I think maybe they were called
Dance Love.
Ariadne.
Ah, yes, yeah. From Paris, in Paris.
I don't know. They were
Yes.
traveling through Europe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, this Ariadne, this was in Paris, and it was also
yeah,
by Komorobushi and his former partner. And I'm not 100% sure, but there was also this Dance Love Machine one where there were only also other females. But yeah,
okay.
whatever. But it's interesting. Yes, yeah. In the 80s, there was this Ariadne in Paris. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Well, I don't even exactly remember the name. I'm not sure Naoko said it, but she was part of a female-only, very punk Butoh dancer group and traveling through Europe.
Yeah.
Even maybe she said on motorcycles or something like that. I'm not sure if I'm inventing also like part of not becoming oral history. Anyway, so yeah, so from what I understood, or maybe I also like remember it now wrong, but like I felt she was not directly a student of anybody. She was pretty autonomous, but maybe she was, right? I'm not sure.
I thought this scene is also so beautiful because it also tells so much also about the history of Butoh and how the situation was also for many, many Butoh dancers in the beginning and how Hichikata and so many others tried to collect money for their performances by having this cabaret and erotic dance, striptease, and so on, fire
Yeah.
dancers. And so this was also such a beautiful, intimate moment where she was like walking on the street and talking about her experiences. That was really, really amazing.
But it was really that magical, because
Yeah.
we met at this strip club that I rented for the shooting to just have a dance scene together, and we were shooting, and then after shooting we just started talking properly, and then she would like tell all these stories, and I was like, "Oh, how how did you find me?" I was
Wow.
searching for you. Because for me also, I used to read about this exercise of being looked at, being perceived as flesh, that there was an exercise for Butoh dancers to go to a show dance, an erotic dance, and practice that. But only after talking to Morishita-san in the archive, I understood that it was not only a sort of a method acting exercise, but it was part of the reality of making money. And I was pretty amazed by that. And then coincidentally, Naoko found me and the movie. So that was a very big gift from the universe, from the
Wow.
invisible people.
Yes, it's so magical. And so I just wanted to ask, in those collaborations, and you had so many with so many different dancers, how did trust emerge? Yeah, it seems very natural when you're talking about that.
I don't know. I think an interesting point, because my camera person here, like I had a second camera person, Achilles Hadjis, who said that it's very rare how the dancers open up to me. And for me, it was something very natural. I mean, I went to most of the dancers' workshops because I think that's the bare minimum of respect and interest. And I was also really interested. And then I asked for making a portrait. And that's a part, maybe I didn't expand on that enough in the beginning of our conversation, that in the beginning, I didn't really want to do any documentary film. I was just really interested in making something that I would call a video archive of portraits of every dancer. So my concept was I would ask the dancer for the portrait, and the dancer would choose a location and dance a solo, and then also just look into the camera in this like very minimalistic, sort of like a portrait, like a photo portrait, but um, uh, with time passing, a few minutes. And the dancers would sometimes choose their studios, sometimes certain parks, or in the case of Nori Hitoishi, it was a temple, it was a Buddhist temple where the monk used to be an artist before, and maybe also a friend of his. Or in the case of Takitero Kudo, it was a Shinto temple where I think he's a member, he's a believer of, he's part of that temple. And all of these encounters were, yeah, it's like I was coming to like a painter to paint their portrait. So maybe people felt very comfortable. Sometimes they would improvise, sometimes it was a completely choreographed solo piece. And yeah, maybe that answers your question. I
Yes,
don't know.
yes.
Yeah. Maybe
And
also it was very helpful at that time. I was not really speaking Japanese, and I always had somebody to translate. So maybe this distance was creating some trust. I don't know.
yeah, a bridge. Also, the camera, I think, can be a bridge, no, of communication.
Yeah.
In a way, as I experienced that, because I was also filming Butoh dancers sometimes, like many years ago, with a Super 8 camera, and I had this feeling also now with you in the radio show, that there is this moment of presence, because in this, for example, also in the interview, you cannot just like think about something else. You would lose the conversation. And also while filming, I think both are really there, no? I feel it's a co-creation of real presence, which is then
Yeah.
in a way saved, or
Yeah, but with certain also how would I say, with this certain easiness that we have
right.
also, because we know if we don't feel comfortable, we can stop or cut something. So I think the dancers also felt that from me, because I would be filming all the time a little bit, but I would be also like really respectful and collaborative.
Yes. What fascinated you about Butoh in the first place? I think you might have gotten to know that in Berlin, right? Or before you, or when did you encounter that expression of the body, and why did it intrigue you to continue to dance or to practice or to be interested in that?
I think, yes, I mean, to be honest, I don't remember my very first Butoh experience, but my friends say that I was in Berlin and I saw it in Berlin. And if it's that performance that I saw for the first time, then I was very fascinated because nothing was happening. But it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
It was a very, very minimalistic performance. And then, of course, the next step was like YouTube videos of Kazuo Ono and Tatsumi Hijikata, these very old, early black and white videos. And then I had this horror movie that I'm still maybe working on, where I wanted that the protagonist is seeing a Butoh piece, and then she is haunted by the dancers reappearing in normal situations in her life, and then I just went to the first Butoh workshop of Motimaru, Tiziana Longo, and Motoya Kondo, and then I was just amazed, honestly, about like the self-discovery of body and presence for myself. I simply just really enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed dancing. I enjoyed watching the others dance. I then also saw myself on the recording, said, "Oh my God, how horrible!" Like I was amazed by the feeling that I have during the dance, and then what I embody or what I create, how big
The
the
differences.
gap, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, the differences. And then I got even more fascinated by that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When I encountered Yoshito Ohno, he once said that for him, Butoh means presence and essence. And I found
yeah,
that very describing of that
yes,
dance.
yes, yes. And that's exactly also what is why I think I'm so fascinated by it, because I come from film and my fascination with film. I mean, now it's bigger, but I think my very intuitive, almost childlike fascination with film is actually the fascination with the presence of actors of certain art house movies, how the presence of a character in a Tarkovsky film works. Of course, it's also camera, but that's something I encountered in the live performances, or there I see a bridge. I mean, for me personally, there's a bridge of
Yeah.
interest.
I also studied film and also film theory a long time ago. And once I was writing about the this time space perception in Japan. And then
Yeah.
I was writing also that I think that the space kind of like opens within performances, and this kind of space for me opened also in some experimental films or in films where the audience is not so extremely captivated by what they see, so they can also create like this inner space within them, like a space to reflect or to think or to kind of like stay with them, but also being in this dialogue in a way with the images. And I felt that there's this connection between a certain kind of dance and a certain kind of film, which is maybe not Hollywood, where you're totally invested in every moment, which is so dramatic, but where you also have some inner space to create maybe new ideas or thoughts or so.
Yes, totally. No, absolutely. I mean, that's what I think cinema should be, like a
Mm.
ex it sounds weird in English, experience space, but like I say in German, Erfahrungsraum. Yeah, where you can get transformed.
I know that it's kind of like a cliche of some form of like Butoh to not just create space within you for ideas or maybe processes of creation, but also it's sometimes this cliche that it also opens the space for the ancestors or the ghosts, or that this line between the living and the dead becomes thin and there can be an encounter of that. So yes, I wanted to ask you about that, because also a lot of times when I had been in Butoh classes, they said that you are not moving, you are moved by something, or you are moved by
Mm.
a spirit, or you are moved by a ghost. And so I just wonder how you think about that, if this influenced also your film in any way, because yeah, also the camera movement and the movement of the body is also very, I don't know, intertwined in a way, no? Or you move with your body, the camera, and yeah, I was just thinking about that these invisible forces make the body dance in Butoh, no? Or a lot of teachers tell that.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's exactly also what I'm very interested in, and I try to also integrate it, especially in the editing. This invisible, if it not only ghosts, but also sort of even the ghost of materials. I love that there is a text by Tatsumi Chikata saying, "I would lend my body to my dead sister." Yeah, but then I read somewhere else that it says that he actually didn't have any sister.
Yes, I heard that. I heard that he had a sister, but she was not a sex
No, she
worker
was
and she
not
was not
dead.
sent away or so. Yes,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I really like that. That fascinated me too, that you can lend your body to your dead sister that you don't even have.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's maybe not a real ancestor, and like this openness to these I mean, it sounds a bit strange, but invisible forces that you create or that you let yourself be touched by. I found that very fascinating. Or there's also another text that very touched me, and I kind of also do references to it in my own in my film, is that I think he said he took a cup, either a cup or a spoon from the kitchen, and then he went with it to the fields, and then
Yeah.
he presented the fields to it, and
Yeah.
that kind of like instead of objectifying things in the human world, we are, I don't know if that sounds weird, but like we are actually looking at objects as if they have a soul, as if
Yes.
uh, yeah,
Yes. It's the animism, no?
animism. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of an animism.
And I
Yes,
think
and
this is so beautiful in this, yeah, in these writings of Hijikata, or just also his influence from Tohoku, where he encountered all these
mhm,
children playing with this with all these objects, and really transporting that into the dance. And I think that's
yeah,
so beautiful. And I think also as children we do that a lot, no? I remember when I was a child and wie sagt man, angestoßen, I crashed into the table. I was saying sorry to it. Like I was like, "Oh, I'm
well,
sorry."
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that. And yes, I think this view of the world, that everything is like something lives in that, or this is a
yeah.
very fascinating view of the world.
I also feel like it's a very needed view of the world because we are in this like late capitalism, but not only late capitalism, just generally we are brought up looking always at the function of things, the function of our body, the function of objects, what is the practical function of all these objects and ourselves. And in Butoh dance, then you are kind of like you're freeing everything up from this function. Every cell becomes a little personality or like a little soul. The body is not anymore, doesn't have the function of being a slave to the mind that brings it, that says the body what to do. And the same for like I thought that in these stories with this like childlike looking at objects, for me that's the most important thing, that like I think also we as humans in this in the modern society are kind of actually want to be reminded of also.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it also reminds me on also a text of Hichikata where he said the dancer within his uselessness and the uselessness of the body is the deadly enemy of the capitalist world, a production-oriented world. He also compared the dancer with a criminal because of that, because he's outside of this like function, and that's why he compared it to a criminal, because he's the enemy to a production-oriented capitalist world. And I love that he's kind of like celebrating this kind of crime, to be a useless body. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, yes. And maybe also, I don't know, maybe now I'm going on some kind of weird foreground, but maybe also like in a late capitalist world where it's all about visibility, invisibility becomes also this kind of criminality
Right,
uh,
yes.
against
Yeah.
the capitalist world. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very personal question and you don't have to answer it. Did you also encounter your father within this dance?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I could say that, but there are like certain dances where I really kind of thought about him, remembered him,
Yeah.
maybe. But it was not these, because I had some magical encounters with him after he passed away in
Mm.
dreams that are like really very strange and beyond dreams. But in the dance, maybe I don't know.
Mm.
But
I just asked because my father also passed away, and I was also dreaming of him, and he was always a very disoriented, lost soul in these dreams, and I could not really talk to him, and he was not himself, and really, really disoriented. And once I also told him, "You died, you died," and he was like looking at me, and then he was really frightened that this is now the truth that he died. But I felt like his soul was still here, because in all of these dreams he was so confused, and I had to kind of like tell him that he died. And then I never really had these experiences like in connecting with ancestors within dance. I was just more like dancing with images. But yeah, finally, some weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I went to a Butoh workshop of Yuko Kobayashi. And then it was so amazing that I had this vision of him, and we were on the earth in the universe. Above us were the stars. And then he was like, and we didn't really talk so much, but it was this kind of like really this first encounter with him after 3 years. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like a completion process, this like really seeing him again. And
mm,
it was maybe a very hallucinative state of what sometimes happens in this dance. And so yeah, it was fascinating to have this experience. And I encountered Butoh maybe 15 years ago, and this was the first time that something like this just appeared, and that was very fascinating and beautiful in a way, that the invisible really appeared again, and I could hear his voice, I could see him, I could see his gesture, and everything was there. And that was a very fascinating moment in life for me.
wow, sounds really fascinating, amazing.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had been in Japan for 4 years, and how did all of these encounters, these collaborations, this film, these experiences transformed you? How did it enrich you?
I'm not sure if it's really about Butoh, but also a little bit. I mean, for me, it was a really great experience to arrive in Tokyo and know that every Tuesday and Saturday I want to go to the Kazuono Dance Studio in Yokohama, because in this city that is so fully commercial, full of and very cold also sometimes, it's such a nice Anker, wie sagt man das?
Anchor? Yeah, anchor?
Anchor. And I guess generally Japan has made me a bit more humble, like, and a bit more chill. Because I used to be very like demanding and very how do you say, impatient. And Butoh dance maybe too, but also Japanese society and the encounter with it, with Japanese mentality really kind of made me a bit more calm, a bit friendlier. I don't know if that's really important for the interview, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's interesting. I think when I had been in Japan for the first time, I was when I went there the first time, I think it was in 2009, so a very long time ago. And when I returned, then a friend of mine, she said, "You're too friendly." You're like always like, "Oh wow!" Yeah, it's like, I think I also really took that in. This in Japanese use like, "Oh, honto, oh, sugoi," like this really being here in the moment and being super friendly. And I think this also remained part of me. This kind of like maybe cultural or social dramaturgy of being kind or friendly in a humble way.
Yeah,
And
and being also soft.
yes, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
softness is like really because I remember when
Mm.
I first the first months in Japan, sometimes I would see like, you know, in the night you see all these drunk people and also
Yes.
not drunk, but the people sometimes I was looking at them and they looked like they were too soft. Like anytime some like they could like fall off the rails or and I was like, oh, they are like so helpless. And also how they treat each other is like because they are soft, like, oh, please take care, oh, don't step over here. And then in the beginning I thought, oh my God, they are too soft. But then later I was like, wow, how great it is to embrace softness because we are all
Yes.
soft in the end, yeah. And
Yes.
like just maybe, I mean, either me personally or in Germany, there's this kind of notion of being hard and not easy to break or something. And it was nice to integrate that softness we all have. Yeah.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. What I also wanted to mention is this beautiful, beautiful scene of the last birthday of Yoshito Ohno. And I really got goosebumps watching this scene in the film, and I even had tears in my eyes because it was so beautiful that everybody was singing the Elvis Presley song, I Can't Stop Falling in Love with You. It was just so beautiful because everybody also made this gesture with their hands towards him. So addressing him that they fall in love with him. And
Yes.
I thought
Take
it's
my
such,
hand,
yes,
right? Yeah.
take my hand, take my whole life
Yeah.
too. Because
Yeah.
yeah, and that was so beautiful. And I thought, wow, this was his last birthday. And it's so magical that you were there and you captured this moment in life. And it's very touching and very haunting images is also to
I mean, as I told you in the beginning, I was not really interested in doing a documentary film. I'm generally not coming from documentary film. I'm more doing experimental film or fiction. But then I was filming here and there at the studio. And then, of course, the birthday felt like something I want to film. And after capturing this material, and after then half a year later, when the message came that he passed away, it became very precious and very also pressuring to do it nicely, you know, like to present, like to share this material in a nice way. And for me, then at some point, we had this idea with my camera person, Achilles, to ask his daughter, Keiko Ono, to meet
mm,
her to film the puppet and to come
yes.
to the studio. And that
Mm,
was one of the strongest second moment for me when I was there at the studio and we were filming her. And maybe you remember that there's this scene is edited before the birthday. But for me, every time I see it, I'm like so touched because she's holding this father puppet, Kazuo Ono puppet, and
mm,
she's dancing and there's Yoshito is already he passed away, but it's like this kind of in between
Wow.
them, and her concentration, how she's doing it's also like is so moving. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, big
beautiful.
thanks to her also. She was like, she's also such a kind soul and she's very collaborative. And also for me, it was a big surprise, maybe for you too, because we all know this, the Kazu Ono dance doll, this little doll that Yoshito used to dance with, that
Yes.
looks a little bit like Pina Bausch,
Yes.
but it's Kazu Ono. And I didn't know. So when I came after he passed away, to meet with Keiko-san, and she showed me that there's a second doll of Yoshito also. That
Mm.
always when they received the dolls from the beginning, there were two, but
Oh.
they never used the other one because, yeah, because Yoshito was alive, and then I was like allowed to film this doll. I don't know. It was all like giving me already kind of goosebumps, and as I said, like these weird magical kind of images or people just being kind of brought, like
To you.
like
Yeah.
they were moved to me, as you say, like moved
Yes.
by something in the dance. Maybe I was moved by something for editing. And I like this approach also for making films for myself sometimes, to like believe in the forces that move me to create.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I can feel that in the film, this magic and this beautiful encounters, and also this tenderness between you and the dancers and the protagonists, or the people that you portrayed. Yes, so thank you so much for this lovely interview. So, will this film be in our local cinemas soon, or how can we find the film?
It's a soft rollout all over Germany in the cinemas and also sometimes art institutions. So I would like to ask everybody who is listening to come on our website, which you will put probably under this podcast, or it's fortisfemfilm.com/distribution, and see the dates when the film is in your local cinema. But at the moment, it's not in cinemas in Austria. So if you are listening in Austria, please contact your local cinema and ask them to book our film. But we are coming also to Munich on the 26th of November. We will be at Monopol Cinema, and on the 29th of November, we will be at the famous Werkstattkino, this underground cinema. And maybe even we will be with more shows in both Monopol and Werkstattkino, but we don't have the dates yet. So it's worth
Great,
checking
yeah.
with the cinemas or on our website.
Yeah, that's great. I saw that we also have a lot of listeners from Germany, so I'm sure that we will
Yes.
reach somebody. Yes, I also can't wait to see it in Austrian cinemas. So I hope this will come also soon.
And
And
once again, I have to like really advertise, please come to the cinema, because the film has an amazing soundtrack, which is on the 5.1 cinema sound system, the best experience you will have with the film. So it's better to come to the cinema than waiting that it comes somewhere in streaming, and we would be very grateful for your support.
yes, and I can also really highly recommend the film because I had the privilege to see it already. And it's just really, really amazing and beautiful and inspiring. And thank you so much for coming on this radio show and also podcast. And it was so lovely to speak with you.
It was really lovely to speak with you. Thank you.
And I wish you all the best for your world tour with this wonderful film. And I hope it will be screened worldwide in many, many cinemas because it's really, really wonderful experience.
Thank you. And I hope we're going to meet at the cinema. And maybe we
Ye-
can do like a artist talk after the film together. That would be lovely.
That would be very lovely. And I hope to see you also next year in London.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much for
Thank you
being
so
my
much.
guest.
FEM Poem, a radio show dedicated to literature, art, politics, and activism.